and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about 6 common traits in adults with high-functioning autism. Now I know some people don't like the term high-functioning autism, and we are purely using this just to understand what part of the spectrum we're talking about as far as people's support needs. So for instance, I was diagnosed with Asperger's. I know people don't use that term so much anymore, but I like it because it helps me understand and to research where I'm at on the spectrum. So what is autism in general? Autism is also known as autism spectrum disorder. It's a neurological condition that affects your social communication, interactions, and behaviors with others. Individuals with high-functioning autism are on the milder end of the spectrum. They may not have significant intellectual or language impairments. In fact, many people with high-functioning autism have a very high IQ. You know, people like Elon Musk, he's on the spectrum. Daryl Hannah, she's on the spectrum. I'm going to discuss 6 common autistic traits in adults on the spectrum specifically. Number 1, difficulty with social communication. It can mean having difficulty with social cues, understanding and interpreting tones of voices, and making eye contact in general. You may not understand people's facial expressions. Maybe they're expressing one emotion, but you see it as another emotion. Maybe you don't understand when a conversation is ended or is over. Maybe you're like me and you walk away before the conversation's over. There's a really interesting test you can take on social communication. And number 2, repetitive behaviors or routines. People with high-functioning autism might engage in repetitive behaviors or routines. You may have strict schedules you have to follow. And it may be to the point where if you don't follow these strict schedules, that you can have a meltdown. Your repetitive behaviors or routines may include a morning routine, an evening routine, something you do every day. You might get ready in the morning a specific way. You might make your lunch a certain way. Repetitive behaviors can also be stimming. So this is what stimming is. Stimming is a very normal thing for people on the spectrum to do, and even as an adult, it's a good thing to do because it gets your excess energy out. Or if you're nervous, you might find yourself stimming more, which can be just movements, tapping your hair, twisting your hair, just whatever it is for you, you might find yourself doing. Number 3, sensory issues. Some people with high-functioning autism might be hypersensitive or hyposensitive to things that have to do with smell, touch, sight, sound. You might be affected by bright lights. You might be affected by smells, such as candles affect you, cigarette smoke. Maybe you notice people at work have certain smells, and you can identify somebody by just the smell that's in the room, that you know they've been in there. Video on sensory issues, and I'll link it down in the description and you can check it out. Number 4 is difficulty with social interaction. People with high-functioning autism may struggle with social interaction. You may struggle with initiating conversation or forming friendships in general. This is definitely the case for me. Social interaction is very odd for me. Forming friendships, I don't understand, gossip and things like that. I try to stay away from it. I hate it. I don't understand when somebody talks about somebody, but yet they're eating lunch with them the next day. I don't get that concept. And I do have the scripts. And you can't always use scripts with people in all situations. Why can this be an issue? Well, as a person with high-functioning autism, if you have to go to work, it makes it more complicated. Into social situations, things like family reunions, parties, things where neurotypical people, don't seem to struggle. You might find yourself finding excuses to flee. I have found that when I feel overwhelmed in a social situation, I'll just get out of there. I just make an excuse that I have to go, and I will just hightail it out of there if I'm uncomfortable. The fifth one is narrow interest or intense focus on specific topics. People with high functioning autism may have an intense interest on certain topics or certain passions you pursue. You may have hobbies that you find yourself doing when you're needing to escape and to make you happy. And you might spend a lot of time doing it in obsession, where to the point where you don't eat, you don't notice the time, you don't notice other people around you. You put all your energy into learning a topic, researching it, becoming a specialist in that area that you're interested in. One specific narrow interest for me my entire life has been photography. It has moved into video editing. I have always been interested in that. And with the ease of the internet, it's so much easier to learn about the topic you're interested in now. Before you had the internet, you had to go to the library and check out books to learn about things. And number 6, difficulty with transitions or changes. Changes in your routine or unexpected events may be challenging for people with high functioning autism, and it can lead to anxiety, distress, or even a meltdown, as it has for me. Even in adult years, yes. It can be hard for people with high functioning autism to work certain jobs because there's no certain routine, and you can't handle it because you're just constantly stressed and you can't handle that job. You need to find a job, if you're able to work, that is going to accommodate you and give you that routine that you need in your day. I had a meltdown, nervous breakdown at my last job because my boss was so overwhelming and so just unkind and rude. And she would embarrass me in front of other people. And it built up over a period of months working for her. And I started having crying outbursts when she would, if she would get on to me, it turned into crying outbursts. And it got worse. And it got to where when I was thinking of going to work, I'd feel like I was going to have a panic attack. And, I did end up having a meltdown at work back before I had a diagnosis of autism. It's hard for people with high functioning autism to handle changes of routines. So it's important to note that people with high functioning autism, everyone's different. You may experience things differently. You may exhibit these traits to varying degrees. And also, not all people with autism exhibit all of these traits. That's what's tricky about it. Now, there are some online tests that you can check out if you're curious, before you were to go in and talk to your doctor. I've got a video, and I'll link it down in the description, on an online assessment tool that I took that was actually pretty fun. It didn't take that long, and I enjoyed it. Please comment down below. Are you an adult with autism? Have you been diagnosed? Are you seeking a diagnosis? And what did you relate to in this topic? Thank you for watching this video, and go down there and hit the subscribe button. I put out content for adults on the spectrum, and if you think that's something that would interest you, then go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I typically put out at least one video every week of some sort, so would love to have you here.